Hey everyone, welcome back, or welcome to, for the first time, the Badass Confidence Coach podcast. Today, Tim and I are talking about how do you get yourself out of situations when you want to control them? The controllingness in all of us that, I don't know, many humans. I haven't met many people. I haven't met anyone who doesn't like to have control over their life.
And they're trying to get out of it at the same time?
They're trying to figure out how to manage what is causing them emotional distress. It's causing them some sort of pain or really stress on the inside. And it really comes down to being controlling.
So they want to control it in a peaceful way, an internal, peaceful way.
I don't know that they want to control in a peaceful way in the beginning. When I talk to clients, it's a lot of frustration, irritation, and anger that they're not able to control a situation or not able to control a person. And it's just really has them in knots over it.
Yeah.
And this is a hard one because I know that, think about yourself. I like to control my environment as much as I can. I like to control my everyday life. Of course, who doesn't? But we get into murky waters when we're trying to, air quote, control other people.
Yeah. So I think for me, it would be, do I like to control the day? I like to control the general flow of the day, but inside of that flow, there's all kinds of things I would not be interested in controlling because those things need to drive kind of the boat down the river a little bit for me. Right. But I want to make sure that in general, the day is going this direction.
So how do you roll with the punches or deal with the curveballs that are thrown your way in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon, and you have this meeting, that meeting, you got to go there, you got to meet that person, you're going to have some time at your desk to respond to emails, and something comes in and there's the curveball and you're like, shoot.
Yeah.
Geez, I want to get these things done today.
Yeah.
And it can feel out of control.
It can.
Right?
Yeah. So I think then it comes down to like, then maybe I should have set the week up a little bit better on Monday, right? Like giving myself a little bit of buffer.
Best intentions.
Right.
Best intentions. But what happens when that's not a reality? I think children, having toddlers and preschoolers, are really great. They're just a really great test for us as people because they aren't going to take all the control away from you, right? I mean, a newborn, you live your life, and all of a sudden a newborn has complete control over you. I would even say for a woman who's been through a pregnancy, you'd start to experience it a little bit there, but more in those postpartum days of you think you're in control. You're not going to sleep. I want to eat now. And you can't go and make yourself a sandwich or, go have a cup of coffee right now because you need to rock a baby to sleep who won't fall asleep. And it's taking 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That baby is in control. You're not in control. I see it with my nephew and my niece. It brings back a lot of memories of watching them with their newborn. I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember those days. You have got to give up control. But the hope is that this too will pass. This will change, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So how about a real life example from even today? How about our dogs being in control of the morning flow?
And we always talk about this.
And it just is.
And what about Bruno, our cat?
You just accept it.
I tell everybody we're his bitches.
You might be.
Because he controls us and the dogs do control us. You're right.
Yeah.
And how do you let go? So that's what we're talking about today. How do you just let these situations happen without just getting so upset, or what we call in psychology dysregulated, emotionally dysregulated? And this is a challenge for all of us. We're going to go through it today.
And probably, I believe it's safe to say, some people are going to be way better than others at doing this.
It's personality types, right? Some people are just wired more for calm and can allow themselves to roll with the punches of what their daily life is throwing at them, or their weekly life, or they're in a crisis, or they feel like they're just in this season of difficulty and hardship, and they're able to maybe manage it a little bit better. But I do think that even those individuals who may be more the go with the flow passive, air quote, passive people, I think that is with a practice that we're going to talk about, that they do this better.
Yeah, I think you could say that. I mean, just think about coming out of C-19. We've all been challenged with how to pivot better. And
COVID.
And just deal with it because it's bigger than us.
Well, I think many of us wrangled ourselves through COVID.
Yeah.
But many of us did not come out of it better. Many of us, the studies are showing mental health is not gotten better since COVID. It's 2025 now, and it's just the same, if not worse. Many of us just kind of white knuckled ourselves through the COVID years. And it really did a number on our mental health and our emotional health. And we're still struggling.
Yeah.
We're still struggling with that massive existential loss of control.
Yeah.
So, how do we let ourselves go through these situations without getting, you know, having to roll up in a fetal position in a catatonic state? We want to rock ourselves. That's how it can feel sometimes when all that's happening in our lives just feels like, yeah, what does it even matter? Politically, you all know who are listening. Take any situation that's going on in your own life, take a situation that's going on in this country right now or in the world, and you can think easily right off the top of your head something that feels completely out of control. And what are the feelings
Totally.
that can go along with it? Scary, it can feel scary, distressing, like I just said, nervous. You're not on solid ground. The ground underneath you is shaky, literally for some people,
Yeah.
figuratively speaking, for
Yeah.
many, many, many millions, billions, I'd say.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are some of the ways that we can, some practical strategies to deal with situations like this? Number one, you gotta practice a mindfulness meditation. And I say this all the time in the podcast, but this is where it really comes true and you will see the benefits if you start this practice. Okay. So, really just set a few minutes aside each day to focus on your breath and observe your thoughts without judgment. All right. I use Headspace and I'm not sponsored by them. I just love that app. But there are thousands of apps now in the Apple Store, wherever you find your apps, where you can download something that will help you with a guided meditation because I needed help in the beginning when I was first doing it. Okay. So, what it teaches you to do is just notice your feelings as they arise, learning to sit with them and then allowing them to pass naturally. And they will pass, everyone. That's a scary thing is that we think they're not going to pass, they're not going to pass. No, I say this all the time to my clients, and they know those who are listening who've worked with me. It's like the clouds overhead. The clouds, when you look up, the clouds never stay in one place. It may feel that way. You're outside, going, taking your dog for a walk. You look up and you see the clouds. You look down, you walk 5 more minutes, look up, the clouds are a little different. They may not seem it, but they have moved. They never stay in one place. That's like your feelings. Those are your intense feelings of anger and sadness and disappointment and frustration. They do pass. So you may hit a moment of climax with your anger, but if you sit with it and you sit with your feelings, you will notice they will subside.
Yeah.
They will start to come down. What was it, 9 or a 10? We'll go to an 8. We'll go to a 7. We'll go to a 5. We'll go to a 4. We'll go to a 2. Okay, really, really important. All right. So when you practice this regular mindfulness practices, it does increase your ability to look at situations objectively in your life. All right. But this is a practice. Like we say, yoga is a practice. This is a practice. Okay. So start it and start for 5 minutes, 3 times a week. Just do 5 minutes. You all got 5 minutes. I think I said this last week, but that's how important this is.
You can carve that out in your
Yeah.
morning and at night before you go to sleep. I think so. So the visual I have, you're saying the clouds are going to pass. The clouds are going to pass. So the visual I've got in my head is probably what a lot of people have a lot of the time is like, remember the cartoon where like the person's outside, there's one cloud, the entire sky, it's right over the top of them and it's raining and they're walking with an umbrella and it's completely sunny every which way except for right over the top of them
Yeah.
and the guy
Yeah.
and the cloud follows them around life. Like that's
Yeah.
what it's the opposite of what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
But that's a great visual because that's like a lot of us live in that moment and we have to jump out of it.
A lot of us feel that way at one time or another, or many times in our lives. We feel like we've got the black cloud over our head. It's always raining. I'm
Yeah.
in a season of it's always raining on me, but it's not with people around me. You look over there, and it's a
They're all
nice
good.
sunny day and everybody's going about their business and their life. But I have this damn umbrella over my head because it's raining on me.
Yeah.
And that's a great metaphor for depression. It's a great metaphor for life crises when you feel like you just keep getting hit and knocked down and knocked down.
Yeah.
Right. So practicing a mindfulness meditation can help with your thoughts about yourself, like in situ, in the situation you are in your life. Okay. So number two, engage in cognitive reappraisal. And this is the CBT world. So when you're faced with a situation that's triggering you and you're just getting really upset. I want you to pause and ask yourself, what is within my control here? What can I control? So this is cognitive reappraisal. What can I control? All right. Try to interpret the event, perhaps viewing it as a learning opportunity or recognizing that this other person's behavior reflects their own struggles. That's about them. It's not about me. It's not about you. All right. So, somebody at work drives you crazy. Your husband, your wife comes in and bites your head off from a day at work. That's not about you. You don't like how you feel, but it is important to know that, okay, that is about them. Something's going on with them. All right. So, what can I control? I can't control him. I can't control her. I can't control their mood. I can only control myself. And I have done this many, 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 many times. You and I was telling a client yesterday, just little things in life. Like we wake up in the morning and not even waking up on the wrong side of the bed. We wake up pretty happy, but we have our dogs who have these very strong personalities and someone's crying or whining or barking because they want to be fed and they want to be fed now. And believe me, everybody, we've trained these dogs. They're just hounds, and hounds are another breed of dog. And I've had dogs my whole life. I've never had dogs like this. So we wake up in a good mood, and somebody, one in particular, our rescue, who he truly controls us. He is just driving us crazy with his whining and his barking, and he's jumping up and down all over the place. And all of a sudden, I come downstairs. Maybe you're down before me, and I see that you're already irritated, like you're in a bad mood, air quote, bad mood. And I have to tell myself, what can I control? I can only control me because I don't want to get sucked up at 6 o'clock in the morning into your bad mood. So I tell myself, don't let it get to you, Anna. Don't let it get to you. He's upset about Dan because Dan's acting like a wild animal this morning. And he truly is like a 4-year-old having a temper tantrum every single morning. And so, that's a
It's,
conversation for another
it's
time.
pretty accurate.
Yeah. So, and it's driving you nuts.
Yeah.
So I have to tell myself, I can't control Tim. I can only control me. And pretty soon, 5, 10 minutes later, we're out the door walking. It's all fine. It's good. You're good again. But that's what I've had to do because there have been times when I've come downstairs and you're in a bad mood and I start to get in a bad mood. It's just contagion. I'm affected by your bad mood. Now I'm in a bad mood because, truth be told, the dog drives me crazy too at times. We love him dearly. He's my spirit animal. I do love him, but he drives me crazy at times.
Yeah.
So that's a really good example of, cognitive reappraisal of I can't control Tim. I can only control me. And I'm not going to go there with you. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked about this particular situation with each other, what, like several months ago?
Yeah. We had to have a conversation about this.
Yeah. And we're like, you
Right.
know what? It just kind of is what it is. And we have to just let that go.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just let it
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
and just go with the morning. There's certain things that have to get done. They're going to get done. And they're going to get done, maybe not in the order we would like them to get
Right.
done, but
Yeah.
they're going to get done. It's all
Because
going
like
to be fine.
most of you, 1 o'clock in the morning, you got to be in the shower and leaving for work at a certain time. I need to be at my desk and getting to my work at a certain time. And we feel that. But it's learning to just take a deep breath, control the controllables.
Yeah.
All right. That cognitive reappraisal of what I tell myself when I see you going down a little bit of a rabbit hole of negativity is really, really important. And then sometimes it's me. And you got to not get pulled into my negativity in that moment.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. So the next one is you need to develop these distress tolerance skills. So this is from the world of dialectical behavioral therapy. I love this therapy. It's from Marsha Linehan. She created it for the treatment of borderline personality disorder. And I think she later came out and said she has borderline personality disorder. It's a genius therapy. I love it. So I employ this all the time with my clients. I employ this with not just my therapy clients, my coaching clients, because all kinds of skills I take out of the therapies I learned as a therapist and use with my coaching clients. That's why people work with me because as a life coach, I'm a licensed mental health person. People love it. That's why they come to me. And I'm going to tell all of you where I get this from. This is not something I made up, and this is my beef. We were talking about this before we started recording the episode, and I'm going to say it right now. I didn't make this up. I didn't create this. I learned these therapies, and my beef with a lot of the life coaches out there, very well known life coaches, I probably would like them very much personally, and influencers in the field of psychology. And it's people in the coaching. I'm going to say it's the coaching space. It's not the mental health space, the licensed mental health professionals. The coaching space, they are tend to, not all, and many of them are good, but they take from our field of psychology and they talk as if it's their thought, and it's not true. So much of what you all hear on, especially on social media, is it's coming from the world of cognitive behavioral therapy. It's coming from acceptance and commitment therapy. It's coming from dialectical behavioral therapy. People created these. People sat and wrote and deeply thought about ways to help people manage their behaviors, to manage their emotions. And it just drives me crazy a little bit when I hear people who tout it as it's their own. And I always say to myself, it's fine, say it, but give credit where it's due. You didn't make this up, you didn't create this. Okay. So I want to make sure that I do my due diligence because I didn't create this next skill of distress tolerance skills. Marsha Linehan did, and it comes from dialectical behavioral therapy. And so she talks about grounding techniques for whenever you feel like, ugh, I want to control the situation. I'm getting really mad. I'm getting angry and irritated with this person or this situation. What I want you to do is I want you to focus on these grounding exercises. And in DBT, we call it stop. It's the stop skill, STOP. So stop. Number one, stop, take a step back, observe, proceed mindfully. All right. So this could help you manage moments of really acute distress. You're in an argument with someone, you're raising voices and you guys are fighting. Utilize stop, STOP. Stop. Take a step back, observe what's going on, observe yourself in the situation, observe what the other person is saying, then proceed mindfully. Be mindful about what you're going to say next. And I've done this, and there's times when I haven't said anything. I've
Hmm.
just sat back and I've been mindful, and I've known that I'm really very angry right now. I'm really like pissed off at this person. And me being mindful is just shutting up because I don't want to say something I'm going to regret later. So me being mindful is to stay quiet, Anna. You can talk about this later with Tim or your therapist or your coach. You can talk about this to someone later. Just don't say anything right now because this is it's going to go bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a distress tolerance skill. Stop. STOP. Okay.
I think that's good advice. I mean, good grief. Think of all the things we do throughout the day where there's moments of like this, oh, it could go wrong instantly, right? And if you take a second and just sit back, right, and kind of let yourself just relax and think it through, think of all those situations that
Totally.
went wrong and
You're
went
really
south.
good at that, Tim. You're really good at employing the stop skill. I've seen you do it forever. I mean, you're really good at it. And when you do talk, when you observe mindfully, and if you do talk, I can see you put thought into it, and you will proceed with caution. You speak slower. You're calm, and it does garner you respect. People listen to you because people don't respect or listen to the person who's dysregulated and get upset and defensive and want to argue back or defensive or angry and on the offensive.
Yeah.
That's going to get people's backs up. We talk about it all the time on here.
Yeah, true.
You're really good at taking that deep breath, observing mindfully, and then moving forward.
I think I do it well because I've seen exactly what you just described. The other
Yeah.
side of it and how it that rarely works.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a rare day when
Yeah.
that's going to work out, right?
And most of us need to learn distress tolerance skills. And y'all, this is just one skill in a page of skills that I could teach you.
Mm.
Just one. I'm going to take this moment to really encourage you all to come talk to me. If you need help, if you're in Illinois, you need psychotherapy, you want coaching, no matter where you are in the world, reach out to me because a guy can help you. Because this is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much that I can teach you these skills about regulating your emotions, how to learn to tolerate distress in your life better. Okay. So reach out to me. Let's get on a call together. Let's see if I can be of help to you. Okay.
Nice.
We are well into 2025. How are you all doing with your New Year's resolutions? Are you meeting those goals? How about those nutrition and fitness goals? Hey, I understand there is no perfection in anything that we're doing in life. But one thing that I have been doing well over the past many years is drinking AG1. You know, I'm all about consistency, but there are days when you know what? I'm just not always going to be able to get in all the vitamins and all the minerals in my foods. That's why I rely on AG1 because I know it's all in there and I'm taking care of my health. It's never too late for you to start a new and healthy habit for 2025. So try AG1 for yourself or give it to someone else as a gift. It's something I've actually been able to stay consistent with. And that's why I've been partnering with AG1 for so many years. And AG1 right now, they're offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3 and K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/Anna to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/Anna to start your new year on a healthier note. Remember, it's never too late to get healthy. All right. So, the benefit of learning this distress tolerance skill is it really helps you navigate these distressing moments without becoming overwhelmed or dysregulated. It just really helps you and it feels good. Like, oh, I navigated that. Was it perfect? It wasn't even great, but I navigated that okay with that person. Did okay with my sister who drives me crazy or my brother or my mom. I did okay with that. Okay. Next is you got to practice radical acceptance. Now we're still on DBT at this point. Radical acceptance. What is radical acceptance? Well, it is radical to accept the situation. These are tough situations that we go through in our lives. So when something really upsetting happens to you, you're dysregulated, you're really upset, you're really sad, you're really stressed out, you're angry. Remind yourself that fighting reality only adds to your pain. So here's what's happening. This is happening. It's happening. I can't do anything about it. The more that we fight that, we say it's happening, and no. I need to control this. I got to make it better. In the worst situation, and this is the most extreme, and I don't wish this on anybody, although I saw it for years when I worked with cancer patients. The patients' families would come to me, and the patient was maybe stage 4, and they were terminal, or even if they weren't stage 4 and maybe they were stage 3 or 2 even, but they were having terrible side effects from the chemo. And the number one thing that freaks people out when their family member that they love and care about, and this is stress, 10x stress. I wouldn't wish this type of stress. Any of you have been around cancer, you know what I'm talking about. The number one thing that people get freaked out about is when the patient stops eating, when the patient
Mm.
loses their appetite and the patient doesn't want to eat. I saw it a lot in stage 4 because the person's going to die. And if you don't eat, you're going to die and you're going to die soon. So I know that this is a hard one. So radical acceptance is letting it happen because I can't go and tell the patient you need to eat. I wouldn't even talk to the patient about why they weren't eating. It was obvious why they weren't eating. They had no taste buds. Their head wasn't in the right place.
Yeah.
And deep down inside, many of them knew they were passing, were starting to pass, were in the dying process. So this is a little bit of a unique situation. For some people, it's end of life. But the number one thing it was the not eating. And the family members would make them eat, make them eat. You got to make them eat. Like, we don't put feeding tubes in cancer patients at that point. We're not doing that. And
Yeah.
you can't, what are you going to do? You can take the spoon with the pudding and
You can't.
put it to their mouth. You can try and shove it between their lips, but your dad's not going to let you do that. Your mom is not going to, your 23-year-old sister's not going to let you do that. It's horrible, horrible situation. Wouldn't wish on anybody. But so the radical acceptance is looking at reality and learning to accept it rather than pushing back, because what that does is it increases and deepens your pain. It deepens your emotional pain. I know of someone recently who was diagnosed with a chronic disease, and he is so very, very, very upset about it. And I don't blame him because it is thwarting this person's goals for their life. Actually, a career was going to be one that required physical stamina, and it has thwarted and changed this person's goals. And this person is struggling right now with this idea of radical acceptance. And we're working through it. We're getting there. But he is having a hard time.
Yeah.
So radical acceptance is something like, oh, okay, now it's just radical and I'll accept it. No. This is a process. It takes time. Radical acceptance that maybe you've realized that you're not the mother or the father you thought you were going to be. Maybe it's radical accept that you don't love being a parent all the time, but you don't want to admit that because you think it says things about you as a person. Maybe it's radical acceptance that you thought you wanted to move to this part of the country and now you're there and you're really hating it. radical acceptance that because you can't get up and just move back now, and now you're there. It's acceptance and it feels radical to do it. Okay. So, what you want to do is want to acknowledge a situation fully. This is happening and I can't change it.
Yeah.
This is happening right now.
Yeah.
It's happening. I can't change it.
And I can sense that it's almost like a spotlight on how you think you're going to be perceived in potentially this moment because you made a decision or you're having to make a decision and you're worried about what comes right after that.
You got to put all that aside.
Right.
You got to just put all that
Yeah.
aside. And then when you say to yourself, this is happening, I can't change it, then you can focus on what you can control.
Yeah.
And what you can control is your response to the situation.
It's like a shift.
Yes.
You need to be.
It's a paradigm shift in thinking.
Yeah.
I can only control my response because I can't control that my town is on fire. Take California,
Sure.
I can't control what's happening right now. What I can control is my response. And that can be very empowering. And that is activating for you.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But radical acceptance is a big one. And I know it's a hard one for most of us to sit with. Okay. Important though. So acceptance reduces internal conflict and emotional resistance, allowing you to move forward more calmly. Okay. It's a big one. The next one is to set healthy boundaries. When you can't control a situation and it's driving you nuts, especially if you're someone who likes to control, like me, you know, so by letting somebody be the way they are, do what they do, it doesn't mean you have to tolerate harmful behavior though. Okay. So this is really important. So we're always talking about boundaries on this podcast. And it's that important that we continue to remind people about having healthy boundaries. All right. It means recognizing that you can't change others, but you can decide how much influence they have on you. That's really important. All right. So clearly define what is acceptable to you and then protect your energy. So set those boundaries, protect your energy. If there's someone in your life who is really not good for you, maybe they're semi toxic, or they just make you feel badly about yourself, or you find that you're around them, you're not your best self. Maybe you start gossiping or you start comparing yourself to others because they do it. Protect that positive energy that you probably normally have for yourself. If you find that your best self doesn't show up, I would encourage you to have boundaries around that.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So establishing boundaries for yourself, it supports your emotional well-being while still honoring, letting other people be the way they are. You do you. You be you. I'm just going to step away from that a little bit.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Because that's still going to happen. I mean, that person's going to be themselves. It's just you're not there to see it.
Right.
And you're not there to be influenced by it.
We've talked about this here. I've had to establish boundaries, healthy boundaries for myself around people in my life who I've tried to talk with them and I've tried to work on a relationship and to get past some things that have happened. And when I've gone to talk to them, they have just been like, no, I don't want to talk about this. Why are you bringing this up? I don't want to talk about it. And I'm not changing.
Right.
They don't say I'm not changing, but they, in so many ways without saying it, have said to me, I'm not changing, because they won't own it. They won't take any responsibility or accountability. And I've had to watch my boundaries. And for me, watching my boundaries is I've had to take giant steps away from them. So I just love them from a distance. I've had to do that because there were situations that would continue to occur. And most people in our lives, we can talk to them and it's like, oh yeah, I did that. I'm sorry I did that. Relationships shouldn't be so hard. And you and I, we have pretty good relationships. We just have fun times and healthy times and spiritual times and just lots of laughter. But there are people in our lives in my life, who it's just clunky. It's a hard relationship. And if they're a friend, you can not be friends with them. If they're family members, you can't not be family members with them, but you have to put big, healthy boundaries up around you so that you're not affected by the fact that they just won't own anything.
Right. Yeah.
Really.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
And the last one to move out of control and to take care of you and let other people be the way they are is to really work on cultivating self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you'd offer a friend. Remember that. You would not talk to your friend the way you talk to yourself. And I also say, you also wouldn't talk to your 7-year-old inner child, that little girl, that little boy inside of you, the way you're talking to yourself now. So please don't do it today. All right. Because that little inner child, that 7-year-old, 6-year-old little boy or girl, they're still there. They're still inside of you. Okay. So treat yourself with kindness and compassion. So when you experience distress in your life, acknowledge your feelings without self judgment. Just notice your feelings. That's all you're doing. This is back to meditation. This is what I do in the mornings. Just notice how you feel. Don't judge yourself. Just notice it. That's it. Really empowering to do that. Okay. So self compassion, it acts as a buffer against the negative effects of stress and helps you maintain emotional balance when you are letting go of people and situations in your life
Yeah.
or moving them out to the periphery of your life.
It's interesting. Like, it's always the people closest to us. In this case, it's like ourselves, like what you say to yourself. And it's also like your inner circle. Those are the ones that everything is like magnified. Like the
Yes.
good is really, really good. And then there's some dumb things that we do or say or think. And it just is like, really? Like, that's your inner circle. Like, why would
Right.
you ever do that? You know what I mean?
Because we hurt the people we love the most, we take them for
Yeah.
granted, and sometimes we get enmeshed with them. Enmeshment is a term from family systems theory where we sometimes don't realize where they pick up, where I leave off and they pick up. Enmeshed is concentric circles really overlapping, and it's you have to remember that these family members of yours, they are their own individual people.
Right.
They are not you. Your thoughts are not their thoughts. Their thoughts are not your thoughts. They have their own thoughts and feelings separate from you. We seem to forget that, and we think that we can just run roughshod over them. And yeah, you can do it when they're children, you can do it when they're teenagers, but at some point, you can do it maybe when they're in their 20s. At some point, they're going to say, F this, I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore. We've been doing episodes on this of the podcast because I did a post on this. It was before Christmas on TikTok, and wow, the comments on there. And it was about going low contact or no contact with your adult children. When your adult children go low contact or no contact with you. And I said, basically, in my 10-minute spiel, I said to the Gen Xers and the baby boomers, we're the Gen Xers and the baby boomers, say you're sorry. There's a reason why they have cut off from you. And you all know if you're listening to the podcast, I've been talking about it. There's a reason why they've cut off from you. Most adult children don't want to do this. Now, this is nuanced. Most, I didn't say all, I said most. Most adult children don't want to even go low contact. They want to have a relationship with you. So if you have done something wrong, I know I've messed up, you have messed up. There's no perfect parent. They're telling you something about their childhood and you probably don't remember it. If they're telling you something that they felt a certain way because of something you did, take a deep breath, swallow your pride, eat some humble pie, and listen to them. Say you're sorry. If they're looking for an apology, say it.
Yeah.
If you need to go to therapy, go to therapy. If you need to get someone to coach you up on this, I'll coach you up on this. And that got so many people commenting to me, to the positive and the negative. A lot of people said, thank you for saying this. A lot of people are like, you don't know what you're talking about. A lot of people said they were talking about their own personal stories and their ungrateful, obnoxious adult children and daughters and sons in law. I don't see my grandchildren and who do they think they are? And they can just suck it up. I talk to them the way I talk to them. And that's just too bad because that's how my parents talk to me. And these little ingrates, these ungrateful brats. I was at every single basketball game. I mean, people, it touched a nerve with people. And I still stand by all that I say.
Yeah.
If you want to have a relationship with those children, unless you're dealing with somebody who truly is like a antisocial personality disorder or is a sociopath, yes, there are people like that out there. Yes, we do have kids that are born this way, and we don't understand where they came from because we are not that way. But yes, it is like 1% of the population. But yes, there are people who have adult children like this or have psychotic issues. Okay, I'm not talking to you. You have a little bit of a different situation. That's a case by case basis, but I'm talking in generalities here. And that's where these episodes have come out of because we got a problem, at least in North America, with millennials and Gen Zers are cutting their parents out of their lives. Why is that?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I think the big takeaway that I'm hearing from you is you have to remember it's two people we're talking about. So the view that I have on this situation, whatever it is, and the person that I'm involved with in this situation has a completely different view of it.
I know.
And I think we get so caught up in like, it's all about me because that's the way we see the world. That's the way we see life is from our perspective. That's all we can see. And we forget that you see it slightly different.
Right.
and somebody else sees it even again slightly different. But always try and remember it's like, okay,
Try to
there's
understand
another side of this.
and try to understand
Yeah.
perspectives. And people have
Yes.
another perspective. People come at it from another angle. What they remember is what they remember. I know it's not what you remember, but that's what they remember. Why can't you throw them a bone and let them have that? And why can't you say, okay, yeah, I didn't, okay, I can kind of understand if that's how you saw it, then okay, yeah. And whenever I see that, when I, run family therapy sessions or couple sessions, a lot of healing starts to take place. And all of a sudden, we've moved into understanding. Oh, yeah. And people's shoulders come down, their emotions come down. Like, yeah, I never really thought about it like that, if that's how you saw it. But you've got to be willing to be humble and you got to be willing to say, I'm not always right. I'm not always correct. Come out of the corner and put your shoulders down. Stop being so defensive. None of us is always right. None of us is always perfect. We mess up. Stop being so defensive. And if you are, what is that about for you? So I said in the TikTok, and you all can go back and watch it if you're on TikTok, it was in December. And I was saying, listen, used to be a family therapist, and that was all I did for years. I've got the adult child. And it's like, okay, I can understand why the parents feel the way they do because there's a lot here. There's a lot here.
Look at what you're bringing to
Yeah.
the
This
table.
is, well, okay. You can
Yeah,
you can understand why the parents are exhausted or having the problems they're having
sure.
because there's something going on the inside, whether it be like some sort of dysregulation, deep dysregulation. Maybe they might need to be seeing a psychiatrist or they need a med change, all kinds of things that can be going on neurologically. That's why it's a case by case basis because you have to have a team of people looking at, in this case, like maybe this individual young adult person or this adult person. I've had family situations where I've got a daughter in law who the son has cut off from his parents because the parents, especially the mother, have treated that daughter in law so horribly because the mother really never got over the fact that her son got married
Hmm.
and her son was her baby and he was the golden child. And I'm just giving you one example. She never really got past it. She white knuckled her way through the wedding and she thought that she would still somehow be her son's number one. Well, no, her number one is his wife now. And so what the mother-in-law is doing is all of these passive aggressive, snarky comments, behaviors that's hurting the wife who's trying to have a relationship with her mother-in-law. Okay. So in that situation, it's the mother-in-law. It's the Gen X, the baby boomer mom. You got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a relationship with your son. And you've got to go to therapy and unpack what is going on with you that you're doing this with your daughter-in-law. You've got to go through, and I think it probably a lot of it is around grief and loss. It's grieving the loss of either your children grew up. Maybe it's grieving the loss that your air quote baby, your number one child, the one who was the sweet one who always was by your side, who was just the sweet child, the sweet, sweet boy. That child grew up and fell in love with another woman and is now married to her. And you have to grieve that and let yourself feel the loss of it. But because you're not sitting with your feelings around that, you're taking it out on your daughter-in-law. And what's happening now is you're going to lose your son. So every case is different. All
Sure.
right. So
Sure.
sometimes, and this is not about pointing fingers, it's about looking at the situation and helping the family come to understanding. And if you're not going to do family therapy, because I think it's more and more uncommon these days, go talk to somebody for yourself and unpack what that's about for you. It depends if there's trauma. I'm always going to say if there's a lot of trauma here, that is psychotherapy. You need a licensed mental health person. Not all of us, but many of us are trained in trauma. I'm a trauma specialist. I've been doing trauma for 30 years. But if you don't have trauma and you're talking about relationship problems and communication problems, you could get coached on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think all
I
that
could teach you
stuff
the skills.
is
Right.
it's correctable. You can become a different person in the way you approach that.
Yeah. And to move you forward so that if you have goals of a bettering your family relationship 6 months from now, we can work on that.
Sure.
I'll teach you the skills and we'll get those goals going and we'll do it. Okay. So I hope that this is helpful. This is just some quick 6 strategies to help you let situations happen, move out of control, and just let them be. Okay, everybody. And this comes from the world of dialectical behavioral therapy. It comes from cognitive behavioral therapy. It comes from acceptance and commitment therapy. These are the three big ones for me that I love. And I wanted to share this with you. I don't want to go into the weeds of these therapies because that's going to bore all of you. But these are the skills that come from those therapies to help you move forward in your life when you know, okay, I can't control this and I need to get myself in a better place emotionally. This will help.
Nice.
All right. Okay, everyone. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. 5 stars makes all the difference in the world. And I read your reviews. Thank you, everybody.
Totally.
And until next time, mad love.